Welcome to the Gary County Council's Planning and Development Committee meeting this evening. I'm the chairperson, Darren Washington, Councilman at Large. We have 5th District Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell, 2nd District Councilman Dwayne Halliburton, and our legal counsel, Attorney Renzo Williams. Tonight we have 3 items, 2 pending ordinances and 1 resolution. We will start with council pending ordinance 2025-57, an ordinance for rezoning property located at 72720 North Lake Street, Gary, Indiana. Petition of John W. Davis, sponsored by the zoning department. Ms. Sharp.
Good evening, councilors. This is a petition to rezone in order to be able to expand their business. The current zoning code does not permit alcohol sales for entertainment or, the bar-like environment in some of the smaller B business zones. So that's the reason for this reclassification to this other zoning code. The petitioner was not able to make it tonight. So he will not be able to represent his petition, but he understands that if you wanted to respond to the next meeting, he's prepared for that as well.
So was there any additional information that he would need to give us outside of what you just gave us to go forward?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions by council members? Okay. Thank you. The next item is council pending ordinance 2025-58, an ordinance for rezoning property located at 423 Bridge Street, Gary, Indiana, petitioned by Ronald J. Bruno Jr. and Pamela S. Bruno, sponsored by the zoning department.
This is a petition to rezone a parcel on a historical residential block. Since the development of the one-way streets of 4th and 5th, Bridge Street has really become a truck route, a commercial route, and as a result, there has been recent rezones in the area. This rezone is to permit this company to expand their business where they are located adjacent to continue to grow their local business here in town. The Plan Commission reviewed the petition and is making a favorable recommendation, and the petitioner is here tonight if you would like to hear from them.
Yes. You'd like to come up and say a few words?
Hello, my name is Ron Burrow. I live at 456 Marshall Street, Gary, Indiana. I'm Organic Bread of Heaven. We've been here for about 20 years. We were able to purchase property next door to us that had a house that was just in bad shape, so we demolished the house, and now we want to rezone it to use it to expand our business. We built a new 12,000 square foot bakery here, and in the future we hopefully plan to expand.
Thank you. I've seen the construction and the movements that you're making right down the street from my parents' house.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
great.
on Bridge Street. Any questions by the board members?
I'd like to speak words of encouragement. Look forward to opening house.
Yes, November 7th
Yes.
for everybody. And we'd like the city council to come too.
Yes.
So the mayor will be cutting the ribbon, the secretary of state will be there.
Okay, thank you. We will definitely be there.
November 7th at 9 o'clock.
November 7th? Okay.
There's pancake breakfast.
Before we go any further, we have Councilwoman, 1st District Councilwoman President Lori Latham. We have 4th District Councilwoman Marion Ivy and Councilman at Large Miles Tolliver in attendance. Thank you. Do you all have any questions for the petitioner? It is basically him extending the property line for him to finish building that Bread of Heaven location.
I did,
Yep,
Mr. Chair. Welcome. Any idea if any way there'll be a return of the black bean burger that you used to have at Bruno's Organic?
I don't know if we can
We are
let
asked
this
that.
go through if that's not
I
gonna come back.
I need to know if there's any way possible there'll be a return of the black bean burger.
And actually, right now, what we're working on, what we would like to do is reopen something like that for people that come for food.
Yes.
But we just need more room.
I wasn't sure if it was the burger or the bread that made it so good, but it's obviously something I've never forgotten.
That was a long time ago, too.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item we have is the resolution of the Gary Common Council approving of the 2025 City Council Comprehensive Plan. Ms. Sharp will be presenting.
I am going to start this presentation, and then our consultant is also en route, and so hopefully they will be able to jump on the bandwagon as well, but I'll start the presentation. Do we have the capability to turn off the lights in the room for the presentation?
Yeah, that's.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good, thank you. Before I start the presentation officially, let me give you a summary of the Plan Commission process. Over the last several months, the Gary Plan Commission has been entertaining the rework of a new comprehensive plan. As it started its work, it used the 2019 comprehensive plan as the
Is
foundation.
your green button on?
It sure is.
Okay.
Would you like me to speak louder, sir?
Well, that's just me, I'm getting old, I might not.
Stay closer. The Plan Commission held a public hearing. In addition to that, the planning staff went throughout the city and had several public input sessions over a period of several months, the summer months. We continued to revise the plan from May to September, and I believe we met with every single council person to discuss a specific chapter, the redevelopment of our vacant and abandoned schools. And I'll go into detail on that in a little bit. At the public hearing, we held that at the Plan Commission over a period of 2 meetings. So we opened it at one meeting, took comment, we left it open, and closed it over the second comment. And we were editing the document all the way up until the close of that public hearing so that we could incorporate final comments. The document that you have in front of you for tonight is not only the comprehensive plan, the new text, but it's also an incorporation of previous planning documents that are adopted as a part of the comprehensive plan into the appendix of this document so that we can address some other issues like the Safe Streets for All and some of the climate action plans that were done by the Sustainability Department. By adopting those, they then become a record, an official record of planning documents that the council and the Plan Commission support. Of course, I'm assuming that you will be in favor and vote for this document. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over. Before I turn it over, the Plan Commission is making a favorable recommendation for this comprehensive plan. I'll start my presentation now.
Am I able to move the microphone over here?
Yeah.
Thank you. If it's okay with you, Councilman Washington, I am just gonna sit down so my head isn't in the way of the audience.
The Plan Commission hired MKSK as a part of this initiative. Aaron Kowalski and Kevin Miller were huge parts of this project. Aaron is on his way from Indianapolis right now. So, as I mentioned, our planning process that we went through, we had a huge initiative of listening, and then we built a framework off of what we heard. We developed a future land use map. We developed an entire chapter focused on redevelopment, and then finally we have a chapter focused on implementation. But to be quite honest, that implementation chapter is, a lot of it is a duplication of what's already in the document. So it's a summary. Comprehensive plans are required by state statute in order for us to have zoning code. So for us to have rules for parking lots, landscape, setbacks, we have to have a vision for land use. And in order to accomplish that vision, we do that through a comprehensive plan. And that comprehensive plan is meant to be flexible. It's meant to be a guidepost as the Plan Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals makes decisions, because every time there's a variation from the rules, a request for that, like for instance, you had 2 rezones on your docket today, we go back to the comprehensive plan and say, does their request align with the vision? With me now is Mr. Aaron Kowalski with MKSK. I'll let him just take a breath, and then I'll let you talk, okay? So we decided to update this plan now because we have a new administration, a new council, and quite frankly, we have a lot of new investment in our city, and we need to align our vision to continue to move. Our vision needs to continue to move with our growth. And so that is why we are starting now, so that we can address some of those emerging issues, so that we can tackle regional growth inside our boundaries. I've already talked about our statutory authority, and this is our final step. We started back in February, and we started internally analyzing all of the existing documents that you have right now. Then we took those documents and we set up a framework and talked to the community over the summer. Then early fall, late summer, we've issued a couple different drafts, of which we've presented one of those drafts to this committee as well. So some of the things that we heard was that we needed to tackle housing, specifically expand our diversity of housing and our affordability of housing. In the urban planning world, we call this the missing middle. We have a lot of single family and we have some apartments, but we don't have a lot of options in between. And the community recognizes that. We wanted to enhance access to essential services and revitalize local economies. We have a large section in the program for economic development, and it revolves around transportation and redevelopment, and that's how we activated this idea around revitalizing our local economies. We wanted to ground our policy in data. We had a lot of input around the support of mixed use and green space integration, and then obviously investing in youth and community spaces and promoting environmental sustainability. I would note that all of these major themes align with the mayor's vision. We had a public workshop that was specifically on the vacant and abandoned schools, and some of the things that we heard there was that we needed to diversify our housing options. We needed to tackle some of the things for ideas for our seniors, for homeless and veteran needs. And in the end, it all just gets down to a variety of housing options.
No, go ahead.
As I mentioned, we took the show on the road over the summer. We went to Food Truck Friday, the Miller's Farmers Market. We were at the Gary Downtown Marketplace, and we also had conversations with individuals that came into City Hall. We held specific business hours, so we had someone down on the first floor. So anybody that wanted to come in and ask questions for the comprehensive plan, we were there to listen. So I'll turn it over to Aaron to talk about the framework, and I will pass out some documents for you while he does that.
All right, thank you all. Again, my name is Aaron Kowalski. I'm an urban planner with MKSK, and I was fortunate enough to work with Corey and her team in putting this together. This truly has been a team effort. We've worked in an incredibly collaborative way with a lot of different stakeholders in the community. Really appreciate being able to present this all to you today. So we started with the priorities of the Milton administration in our review of the 2019 comprehensive plan and a lot of the associated documents along with that. We really tried to view those recommendations in our review phase through this lens of stabilization, growth, quality of life, and planning for the future. As we think about stabilization, it really is about strengthening city finances, retaining current population, improving neighborhood infrastructure, and eliminating blight. And I know that you all are working really hard on a lot of those things already. Growth, population and tax base, small businesses, quality housing, as Corey was talking about the missing middle, job training opportunities, and building tourism, arts, and culture. Quality of life, improving public safety, supporting youth, family, and seniors, support for those experiencing homelessness, addressing food insecurities, and enhanced animal control. And lastly, planning for the future. We spent a lot of energy thinking about what was realistic, what could be implemented over the next several years, and what might take some more time from an environmental, citywide perspective, zoning perspective, and infrastructure. Is there anything you want to add?
I do. I just want to add that we're not stopping at this comprehensive plan. Some of Mayor Melton's key priorities are at the zoning level. They're at the code level. So as Aaron mentioned, quality of life, enhanced animal control. Well, that also gets down to having animal standards in our zoning code. So we're addressing zoning code, and we'll be rolling out a draft of a new zoning code this month.
All right, so as you're starting to think about using this plan, reviewing this plan, it's organized in 6 different sections. We tried to create a document that included a lot of good information from the previous plan, but really, we really wanted to be future focused here. We know that there's a lot of planning that's been done in the city of Gary, and so we really wanted to focus on key items. So as you go through this document, there's an introduction that really sets up the conversation, talks about how we engaged with folks and what we heard. There's a land use component. Land use is one of the required items in a comprehensive plan by state statute to enable zoning. And we did a deep dive on existing land use, missing middle housing, as well as future land use. And we tried to simplify the future land use map in a way that made it more user-friendly, as well as friendly for people that want to do projects and do business in the city of Gary. An additional thing that we did that I think is really important as we set up opportunities for Gary's future is a redevelopment section. You might recall your prior comprehensive plan had some appendices at the end that looked at different neighborhoods and opportunities around those neighborhoods. And what we really tried to do is take the best of all the planning that has been done over the last several years, as well as focus on the different steps and the different opportunities around blight elimination, redevelopment. We looked at a lot of the portions of the city that we'd like to see investment in, from transit-oriented development to new development in Miller to neighborhood development, especially around areas where we're starting to see investment already. The Holliston area, the Holy Angels area. We did a pretty significant deep dive on school sites and had a community forum, as Corey mentioned, but we also thought about, what is an appropriate land use for each of those, what are some key considerations, and how can we begin to move some of those projects forward. We also looked at industrial development and continued areas where investment could occur in the community. It's a really important section here. A lot of cities don't have a redevelopment section in their comprehensive plan, but it's becoming much more common because it really does allow for staff and elected officials to have a guidepost when people come to the community and want to invest. The next section is nature. We worked very closely with a number of folks, with the Parks Department, with the city, with stormwater and other departments to think about the parks today, the investments that are needed. We folded in a lot of the recommendations from the recent Parks Plan update, and we started to think through what are existing conservation and restoration efforts and how those can be built into this approach. We also focused on watersheds and water infrastructure as key components of nature. Transportation is another required section within comprehensive plan. So what we did is we looked at a lot of the different transportation plans that have been done over the years, as well as some of the newer, reflecting some of the newer investments and efforts, such as the 1220 combination. So we looked at vehicular transportation, multimodal transportation, which means everything from bikes to scooters to people that are taking the bus, and how people can connect to those modes of transportation in a way that also encourages walkability and safety. Public transportation, we look at the GPTC system and folded in kind of the latest information around the system, as well as the NICD system with the South Shore rail improvements. We included some recommendations as part of recent Buffington Harbor and airport planning. So that's reflected here as well. And then the most recent plan that the city's finished is the Gary Safety Action Plan, which is part of the Vision Zero initiative that unlocks potential for really trying to eliminate pedestrian fatalities. That all rolled into an implementation plan, and what we focused on here were strategies that can be done in the next several years, short term being 0 to 3, and then medium term being 3 to 5. And the idea is that at the end of that 5-year period, this plan would be updated again with a new set of priorities. So from a future land use perspective, I had mentioned that we simplified the categories. This is something that's a best practice, and it's something that a lot of communities are doing in order to make business easier in the community, especially for those wanting to invest. So what we did is we thought about a set of 12 different districts. Residential, that encompasses all the different types of residential that exist in the community. Business, where we want to encourage that commercial. Mixed use, so where we would see residential and business mixing, often in our walkable neighborhood type areas, like the downtown area, like Miller. Destination district, this is a new thing. It's a flexible district that we wrote intentionally because there's a lot of places in Gary, think Hard Rock Casino, think the new convention center, think areas in the downtown where we would like to encourage people to gather, people to come in from out of town, and those destinations. And so we created a flexible zoning district, a flexible land use district that would yield a flexible zoning district to encourage that economic development. Manufacturing, we understand and consider manufacturing to be an incredibly important part of the city of Gary's legacy and future. So not only thinking about legacy manufacturing and industrial uses, but those future uses as well, and trying to think about some of those best practices. And of course, those areas that need to be conserved, floodway and floodplain. So that kind of gets us to this map. And if you were to take this map and put it side by side with the older future land use map from 2019, I'll hand it to Corey here, but we worked really hard to simplify this. Corey and her team went through a really exhaustive effort of identifying the current land uses today, and we really tried to tune this up in a way that not only exemplified areas where we would like to see investment, but called out the types of investment we'd like to see in those areas. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you. This is one of the items that, as I was meeting with each of you individually, we did basically a round robin of the city, and I highlighted specific areas. I will note that we did incorporate most of your recommendations. If there's anything that you see that was not reflected, it was because maybe the counselor of that district had a differing opinion. So the council district person trumped any other ideas that were thrown out. To give you an example, we have a long stretch of Broadway that is commercial, and then we have a couple sections that are downtown mixed use and the destination district around the IU University Park. And the rest of it, the stretch, is primarily business. We did not continue those mixed use districts or destination districts beyond the core areas of those two areas.
So the next section here is redevelopment, and you can see on this map here what we did is we thought through different types of redevelopment that would occur in the city, and I'll go through those one by one because this map is fairly small. The first is school redevelopment sites in blue. Then we have sites around the Transit Development District in the Gary Metro area. That includes recommendations from the recent Notre Dame study as well. The Gary Miller TOD areas, so the Transit Development District boundary, the Special Economic Development boundary in both the downtown and Miller. So we've included sites where redevelopment is encouraged in those areas and incentivized through the Transit Development Districts. And then we've included additional downtown Gary Vision sites, some of which were captured in the recent Notre Dame study, as well as what we call action plan sites, so places where we believe that there could be opportunities. Then we have additional redevelopment sites in the red, and you can see we've identified quite a few. The goal here is that staff and the elected officials will have a clean and clear map that identifies these areas, so that as people approach the city, we can start to talk about the type of investment we'd like to see here, and we can clearly delineate the areas that are ready or shovel ready for reinvestment, those that may take a little longer, and those that may have other factors in play. As part of our final deliverable on this, we're also providing the city with GIS shapefiles of both this map and the future land use map, so that those can be conveniently available online on the city's website, in addition to kind of in PDF form here. So that gets us to the last section, implementation strategies. As I mentioned a little earlier, the goal here is to really think about the things that can be done in a relatively short period of time. We wrote these in close collaboration with Corey and other members of her staff, as well as reviewed those with a lot of officials and stakeholders. And so there's a lot of people that have put a lot of thought into these things, but these should be reviewed annually. We consider these to be a living, breathing set of recommendations. So from a short-term perspective, there's some things that are already being done, like updating zoning and development standards. We want this plan and the appendices to be used to attract developers, investors, the philanthropic community, as well as partners. And this also allows for the city to use this plan to apply for grant dollars, whether they're through the federal government, the state, or the philanthropic community, business community. Really focusing on finishing the demolition projects and the blight elimination that is underway downtown and citywide, getting these new sites ready for development, and many of those sites are reflected on the redevelopment map. Installing temporary signage at key sites to show progress, especially where that state-funded blight elimination is occurring in partnership with the city. Start the process of RFQs for redeveloping city and GHA-owned properties, especially some of those school sites and sites downtown. Evaluating infrastructure and environmental concerns and key conditions. Improving lighting and crosswalks. That's one of the major recommendations that came out of the Vision Zero plan. And then removing outdated restrictions. We know that there's still U.S. Steel covenants on a lot of city-owned land. So one thing that we think could unlock a lot of potential redevelopment is to get those released. And then from a medium-term perspective, some of the things we're looking at here are expanding the transit development boundaries. They can be expanded in both the downtown area and the Miller area. Keep acquiring, assembling, and marketing properties, upgrading infrastructure, and identifying creative ways to fund construction and look for those partnerships. The next section here is growth, and I won't go through these in as much detail, but I wanted to give you a flavor for how detailed these recommendations are. So from a short-term perspective, of course, moving through the process of replacing the Gary Metro Station and unlocking the state money, as well as the match money, by the city. Working really hard to attract developers, investors, and grants, promoting the city at national conferences, investment summits, and really engaging the development community. This will allow us to, in the medium term, really unlock the potential of transit-oriented development in the downtown area as well as the Miller area, and all those things that go along with it that people want from a livability, a safety, and quality of life perspective. And then the last thing I'll mention is, continuing to support the position of the Gary Chicago Airport as a major hub and identifying where those investments can occur in the future. Quality of life. So, it's all about improving how people access places and the safety for people in their neighborhoods and throughout the community. The zoning piece, which we've talked about, but then also some things that can bring people to certain areas, to neighborhood centers, to the downtown area, things like food truck pop-ups. I know y'all are already doing that. Friends of partnerships, and then a number of opportunities to engage youth throughout the community. And then the last one here, planning for the future. This is really about guiding growth and investment, coordinating with partners, investing in branding and wayfinding, and really trying to advance the potential to build out that economic development in the community. Hand it back to you, Corey.
Thanks. In closing, I would just like to thank MKSK for the work that they have brought to the table. They were an excellent firm for us to work with and listen to our feedback. It was a great pleasure working with them. The other thing I would like to note is that I believe that we have some groundbreaking ideas in this plan. For instance,
Are you done? Sorry, are you done with the presentation?
Yes. Yeah.
Can we go back to the podium because I cannot see you?
Sure can.
Got these lights back on.
You can flip on the lights. One of the key big ideas that we're presenting in this comprehensive plan is a new land use designation as destination. Traditionally, urban planners have gone so far as doing mixed use, but this destination land use is meant for us to really utilize our anchor institutions and develop a community and neighborhood around that is as flexible as possible. And sometimes our code and our land uses just become so isolated. You go down the grocery aisle and you're going down the bread aisle and then you're going down the vegetable aisle. But yet altogether it's a grocery store. And so this destination district is really meant to capture that whole building and that it is multiple aisles, multiple roads, but yet it's all supporting that one anchor institution. So I'm happy to take any of your questions and continue the dialogue.
Questions, Councilman Williams and Councilwoman Latham?
Now, this destination, is that the area by 25th Avenue? 25th Broadway?
The destination districts are around all of our anchor institutions. So they would be around Methodist Hospital, around IU, University Park, around Hard Rock Casino, and the new Convention Center, to name a few.
I'll meet with you one of you said we could always do that. That's some personal question on that stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Thank you, MUFKSK. I do have a couple questions. I know originally we sat down and talked about manufacturing along the Little Calumet River. Seeing it on the map, and then also just the events, some recent events around BP and their contamination, especially the one in September. I'm wondering if we still think locating manufacturing in the floodplain is still a good idea.
So, from a best practice perspective, we try to avoid areas in the floodway. There are ways that you can develop in the 100-year floodplain, and I think though there needs to be stipulations from a zoning perspective as those projects come to the table and need to be evaluated individually. I'll say that the zoning work that Corey is doing, I think will. So this is a land use plan, but the zoning is what will enforce that. There's also different levels of industry, and so I think it would really be something the city needs to look at a case-by-case basis, but we didn't want to remove the ability for economic development to occur totally in these areas, knowing that there are ways to develop in the floodplain that are responsible and mitigate those risks.
I acknowledge, I know at least the one on the west side, I can't remember on the east side, but I know the one on the west side is a highly toxic site. There's not much else we can do. I think that's Lake Sandy Joe. I know there's not a whole lot more we can really do with that site.
Lake Sandy Joe already has a PUD on it, and it is designated as basically a logistics, distribution, light manufacturing site. And that is about all we can do because of the covenants that are on that. As we follow the comprehensive plan, we do have our zoning code, and we have a strengthened floodplain ordinance as a result of our conversations, not only with council, interested members of the community, but also Director Brenda Scott Henry, and strengthening that to be aligned with DNR's recommendations for floodplains, which limits development in the floodplains.
You mentioned covenants too, and U.S. Steel covenants, and beginning to remove some of those. I know U.S. Steel, for good or for bad, the covenants, they have protected, especially some of our legacy parks from being developed on. I think the original, builders, I guess, of the city wanted to make sure that there were certain places in our city that were never disturbed or at least kept in recreational use. So I'm wondering if we are planning on moving or removing the covenants, what other guardrails are those? I've seen these covenants keep us from some pretty bad development ideas?
Yeah, I would say that, the idea is presented in, what section was it? The implementation section. So really what it's meant to do is stoke this conversation that you're bringing up, President Latham, of, what are these covenants for each of the parks? How do we need to develop, or preserve to go forward? So it's forcing us to have this deeper dive conversation around these covenants. Go ahead.
The only other thing I would add is, this is an opportunity, especially with, the ownership transition of US Steel to really try to understand exactly what those covenants are, since they're over 100 years old. There may be some places where you say, yeah, we absolutely want to keep these in place, or we want to do something as a council to protect these areas. There may be others that, maybe are small remnants of properties or something like that it might make sense to remove. So I think it's, as Corey mentioned, it's about setting forth the process of doing some analysis to understand exactly what they are, and making sure also that, as US Steel transitions, that the new ownership understands what they are, and maybe there's even an opportunity, for them to participate in improvements and stuff like that.
And then last question, Mr. Chair, and this one just came today. I was on the phone with someone who's looking at some property on South Lake Street. I directed them to you, Mr. Harris. I don't stay on the phone with developers long. But he asked about if, I know the plan is gonna inform the code, but how will the plan influence height standards? The conversation is, on South Lake Street, you'd have to go pretty high in order to give folks a view of the lake at this point. And so will there be any restrictions at all?
The comprehensive plan does not speak to building heights. That will be something that will be addressed in the zoning code.
Any other questions by council members? Councilman Williams?
I have one more question. Now, hello? Okay. The highway, the property along 8090, that's the area considered a floodway?
There is, the Little Calumet River is south of the highway, or a big section of the property, basically Broadway to the western edge of Gary. It is south. And then it twists up, and then it moves to the north side of the highway in the Marshalltown area.
Okay. So where are we at with the location on the highway further down from the Hard Rock Hotel? Hard Rock, I put myself.
Hard Rock is not in the floodplain.
It's not in the floodplain?
No.
So what would that area be along the highway?
That area around Hard Rock would be a destination district.
Destination district. Okay. So are we looking at doing any development with restaurants in that area? Or?
Yeah, that's
Just
the
the same way
idea,
they have
is
the hammer?
that restaurants, hotels, right now Hard Rock has an entertainment PUD, but it's basically building out that into the areas around that.
The outliers?
Where obviously rezones have to happen in
Right.
order for us to accomplish a destination land use. But the idea is that whole area, really supports the convention center and the casino. And with small businesses, large restaurants.
Small business. That'd be nice to see. Especially along the highway, that'd be very nice to see.
Any more questions by council members? Thank you. Meeting adjourned.